You've heard of the 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, sloth. They've been used in sermons, parables, and cautionary tales for centuries, warning us about the flaws that lead to ruin. But what most people don't know is this: each one of those sins was said to have a ruler. Not just a demon, but a prince, a monarch of hell who doesn't just personify the sin, but commands it, spreads it, thrives on it. These aren't the cartoon devils with pitchforks and red skin. They are ancient, layered, and terrifying in ways that go beyond horns and fire. They represent the absolute worst of us, taken to its farthest extreme. And in the old Grimoires, the Demonology texts, banned by churches and hidden in vaults, you'll find their names etched beside strange sigils surrounded by warnings. Some, like Asmodeus or Beelzebub, you might recognize. Others, like Beelzebub or Mammon, live in the shadows of forgotten theology. But even among them, one name is always at the center: Lucifer. We will explore the chilling true stories of all 7. But the central question remains: which of the 7 princes is truly the most dangerous? And why is their victory the quietest one? Stay with us to discover the answer that changes everything you thought you knew about temptation. Lucifer, Prince of Pride. There's a reason Lucifer's name still lingers across cultures, religions, and legends, whispered in fear, written in warning, invoked in rebellion. But the Lucifer people think they know is often a shadow of the one described in older texts, the Lightbringer. Long before hell had a throne, before angels were even known to fall, Lucifer was light. Not metaphorically, literally, the Lightbringer. That's what his name means, lucem fere, from Latin. He was a radiant being who once stood near the very center of divine authority, not as an outsider, but as one of heaven's most cherished creations. Lucifer wasn't crafted in darkness. He wasn't born to destroy or deceive. In early theological writings, especially within Christian and apocryphal traditions, he is described as the most beautiful of all angels, towering in form, brilliant in appearance. He didn't simply reflect glory, he embodied it. Some called him the morning star, a symbol of unmatched brilliance. But beginnings rarely last. Lucifer's fall didn't come from hatred or rebellion in the way we usually think of it. It came from something far more human, something far more familiar: pride. Not the kind rooted in joy or self-respect, not the pride that lifts, but the kind that clouds judgment, that isolates, that whispers, "You deserve more." And Lucifer listened. It wasn't rage. It was certainty. The certainty that his brilliance wasn't just a gift. It was proof. Proof that he should rule. Proof that submission was beneath him. He didn't hate the throne. He just believed he belonged on it. The charismatic catalyst. Lucifer didn't fall alone. According to tradition, he convinced 1/3 of the angels in heaven to follow him, not through threats, not with chains, but with ideas, with charisma, with promises of something greater. He was the first revolutionary. And his revolution was rooted not in chaos, but in confidence. When the rebellion failed, it wasn't just a defeat. It was a collapse, a shattering of hierarchy. And Lucifer, once draped in light, was cast down, not into fire, but into absence. The absence of God, the absence of favor, the absence of the light he once carried so effortlessly. The danger of beauty. Many traditions don't describe Lucifer as being stripped of his beauty. Even in his fall, he remains radiant, still stunning, still angelic, still persuasive. And that's part of what makes him dangerous, because when evil looks like evil, it's easy to avoid. But when it still carries the echo of brilliance, when it wears the same face that once inspired awe, that's when it slips past your guard. Lucifer's personality isn't overtly cruel. He's eloquent, patient. He speaks in riddles not to confuse, but because he assumes you should be smart enough to keep up. He simply waits for you to recognize that he's right. Pride is often treated as the root of all sin, not because it's the loudest, but because it opens the door. It convinces you that rules are for others, that guidance is control, that you've outgrown the need to follow. Pride at its worst is a kind of spiritual narcissism, and Lucifer is its blueprint. Mammon, Prince of Greed. If Lucifer fell because he believed he deserved the throne, Mammon is the one who believes he can simply buy it. He is the whisper in the mind that says, more will fix it. More gold, more property, more power. Whatever the soul lacks, Mammon insists it can be bought. His sin isn't just greed in the economic sense. It's the idea that anything, love, loyalty, even salvation has a price, and that you should own it. The worship of wealth. The name Mammon comes from Aramaic origins, translating roughly to wealth or profit. But by the time he appears in medieval Christian writings, the name represents the worship of wealth itself. The Gospel of Matthew frames it perfectly. You cannot serve both God and Mammon. In that one line, Mammon is elevated from a concept to a force, a power that demands allegiance just like any deity, and many have given it willingly. The insatiable vault. Descriptions of Mammon vary, but one detail always remains. He is never satisfied. Some depict him as grotesquely bloated, sagging with coin-stuffed flesh, gold pouring from his lips. Others show him gaunt and hollow. A living vault? Skeletal, wrapped in chains, jeweled eyes, sunken deep into a skull-like face. In both forms, the message is the same. His wealth doesn't sustain him, it eats him from within. Where Lucifer leads with ideology, Mammon speaks in terms. Everything is a negotiation. You don't pray to Mammon, you bargain with him. He frames greed as reward, hoarding as security, and excess as evidence of success. His interest in you is never personal. The tragedy of security. What sets Mammon apart is his obsession with value. Everything must be measured. If it can't be owned, it's worthless. Mammon's followers rarely realize they've fallen. Greed doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like ambition, planning, success. The tragedy of Mammon is that he offers security and waits while it consumes you. He is the embodiment of the lie that if you just had more money, you'd finally be whole. Asmodeus, Prince of Lust. If Mammon tempts with gold, Asmodeus tempts with touch. He is the patron of obsession, of desire that no longer cares about consequence. His domain is not love. It is need without restraint. The jealous fixation. Asmodeus's origins are tangled. In the apocryphal book of Tobit, he's infamous for killing 7 husbands in a row on their wedding night, consumed by a jealous fixation over a woman named Sarah, not because he loved her, but because he believed she should be his. That's the kind of lust Asmodeus rules. Possession, wanting someone so completely that their consent, their pain, even their life no longer matters. The unashamed master. Descriptions give him a striking, almost theatrical form, often shown with 3 heads: man, bull, ram, each symbolizing different shades of desire. He doesn't hide what he is because he doesn't believe it's wrong. That's the trick. Asmodeus removes the idea that anything should be forbidden. He reframes self-control as repression and restraint as weakness. In doing so, he doesn't just corrupt the body, he corrodes the will. He seduces not just with beauty, but with frustration and the illusion that satisfaction is just one indulgence away. The aftermath of shame. Like all temptations tied to lust, that feeling never lasts. And that's where Asmodeus thrives. In the aftermath. In the shame. In the spiral that begins when pleasure becomes addiction and intimacy becomes impulse. He is the prince of cravings that promise everything and leave only silence. He doesn't force. He waits because eventually, everyone wants something badly enough. Leviathan, Prince of Envy. Some demons seduce, others burn. But Leviathan waits below the surface, silent, brooding, cold. In the oldest texts, Leviathan wasn't even a demon in the traditional sense. In the Hebrew Bible, he's described as a sea monster, a force of nature, terrifying and untamable. Over time, that image shifted. The beast in the depths became envy, and Leviathan became its prince. The internal sting. Envy is unlike the other deadly sins. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It hides behind the smile at a friend's success, behind the applause at someone else's joy. It is by nature silent and rotting. That's where Leviathan lives, in that internal sting that says, "Why not me?" When Leviathan is near, joy tastes bitter, and peace feels like mockery. Whereas Asmodeus tempts with what you want, Leviathan poisons what others already have. He convinces you that happiness is zero-sum, that every victory not yours is a loss. The slow drag down. Personality-wise, Leviathan is restrained, but watchful. He doesn't rage, he waits. His envy is simmering, always there, feeding itself on every good thing that isn't his. And when he moves, it isn't to destroy. It's to drag down, to take what's above and pull it beneath the waves. Leviathan symbolism is deeply psychological. Envy is a sin of comparison. It doesn't just want what you have, it wants you to lose it. It wants to erase every reminder that something might be better, brighter, or more beloved than you. That's Leviathan's victory. Not domination, but contamination. Beelzebub, prince of gluttony. Where Leviathan hides in the deep, Beelzebub spreads across the surface like rot. He is not subtle. He is consumption made flesh constant, open-mouthed, and foul. Lord of the Flies. In ancient Canaanite worship, Beelzebub likely began as Baal-zebul, an exalted lord, but as enemy gods were rebranded. His name was twisted to Lord of the Flies, not because of insects, but because of decay. His altars were said to swarm with flies, his name becoming synonymous with filth, waste, and rot. In the process, he became a symbol of gluttony. The sin of excess turned to sickness. The unapologetic appetite. Gluttony in Beelzebub's realm isn't just about food. His domain is consumption without restraint. A hunger that doesn't stop not just for food, but for attention, for validation, for more of anything and everything. If it feeds, he wants it, and he doesn't care if it kills him. He's often bloated, his skin sagging, surrounded by decay. And yet, he is not low in hell's hierarchy. He is often described as second only to Lucifer, a prince of immense power. His personality is, in a word, unapologetic. If Mammon wants to own the world, Beelzebub wants to devour it, piece by piece, soul by soul. The paradox of sickness. Beelzebub's symbolism is deceptively modern. Gluttony is about the inability to stop. It's a sin that pretends it's pleasure but ends in sickness. He promises you satisfaction, but all it delivers is emptiness that grows heavier every time you try to fill it. He is rotting royalty, a king who feasts in filth and still expects to be obeyed. Satanus, prince of wrath. When he's referred to as Satanus, we're looking at a more focused role, a defined place in hell's hierarchy, separate from Lucifer. While Lucifer represents the pride that caused the fall, Satanus is what came after. The burning rage that refuses to forgive, the fury that fuels vengeance without end, the adversary. In its oldest form, the word Satan wasn't even a name, it was a title. In Hebrew, Ha-Satan means the accuser, a prosecutor, someone who stands against. He wasn't evil in the beginning. He was necessary God's appointed challenger, the one who tested faith. But the adversary became the enemy, and Satanus took shape as a prince of hell with a specific dominion, wrath, the justified fire. Where Lucifer challenges by charisma, Satanus challenges by fire. His wrath is not blind, it's focused, purposeful. He doesn't whisper temptations, he fans the flames already inside you. The grudge you hold, the betrayal that won't let go, that's where he lives. What makes Satanus unique is how justified his rage feels. Wrath, after all, starts as a reaction to pain, a wrong, a betrayal. Satanus takes that spark and turns it into wildfire. He convinces you that forgiveness is weakness, that justice can only be paid in blood. The paradox of control. Wrath is seductive because it feels like control, like power, like action. But it's a trap because it always demands more. More anger, more punishment, more fuel. Satanus doesn't tempt you to act, he dares you to. He justifies the hate, rationalizes the violence, and calls it strength. Belphegor, Prince of Sloth. Of all the 7 princes, Belphegor might seem the least threatening at first glance. He doesn't storm into the world. He barely moves. He's the voice that says, "Do it tomorrow." The thought that whispers, "Why bother?" Spiritual decay. Sloth isn't laziness in the usual sense. It's a spiritual decay, a collapse of purpose, a refusal to engage with the world, not out of exhaustion, but out of indifference. Belphegor was demonized from Baal Peor, an ancient fertility god, later associated with stagnation. He's often depicted as slumped, bloated, sometimes literally seated on a toilet or sunken into a pit of decay. He may wear the crown of a nobleman, but his kingdom is stillness, the power of indifference. He is intelligent, frustratingly so. He speaks in riddles, oozes sarcasm, and watches more than he talks. He doesn't need to convince people to fall. He just waits for them to give up. He doesn't kill ambition. He distracts it. Where Lucifer seeks rebellion, Belphegor offers numbness, and that's his greatest weapon. Sloth wraps itself in soft rationalizations. You're too tired. It's not the right time. And slowly, you sink, the days blur, and the world keeps moving without you. The death of dreams. Belphegor stands for surrender. Sloth, in its demonic form, is the refusal to act when it matters most. It's knowing you could do something and choosing not to. And in that choice, Belphegor thrives because he knows that a dream delayed long enough dies one way or another. While Lucifer holds the highest rank, the most dangerous prince is arguably Belphegor, Sloth. Lucifer requires arrogance, Mammon requires action, but Belphegor requires only nothingness. He wins by convincing you to stop fighting, stop building, and simply wait for your own decay. His victory is the quietest because it is total surrender. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Don't let Belphegor win by distracting you from valuable content. And tell us in the comments, which of the 7 sins do you believe holds the most power over modern society?